Feel like, I'm another singer, another guitar player. Well, I would tell him to pick cotton for a few days and then call me.
At 92 years old, Willie Nelson is not just a country music legend. He is a symbol of freedom, honesty, and living life on your own terms. For more than 7 decades, he has written songs that touched millions of people. He has stood on stages across the world, wearing his braids, holding his worn-out guitar, and singing with a voice that sounds like it has lived every word. But now, in the later years of his life, Willie is thinking about something many people avoid talking about, his own funeral. Most celebrities try not to speak about death. They avoid the topic because it feels uncomfortable or too serious. But Willie has never been afraid of uncomfortable conversations. Throughout his life, he has spoken openly about love, loss, mistakes, health problems, and even trouble with the law. So, it is not surprising that he would also speak honestly about how he wants his final goodbye to be handled. What is surprising, though, is that he has made it clear there are certain people he would rather not have at his funeral. Before understanding that decision, it helps to understand the man behind it. Willie Nelson was born on April 29, 1933, in Abbott, Texas. He grew up during the Great Depression, a time when money was scarce and families struggled just to survive. His parents were very young when he was born, and their marriage did not last. Willie and his sister were raised mostly by their grandparents, who played a huge role in shaping his life. Life was not easy in those early years. Winters were cold, and sometimes the house had little insulation to keep the heat inside. Money was tight, and hard work was expected from everyone, even children. Willie picked cotton in the fields, an experience he later said taught him how difficult life could be. Those long days under the hot Texas sun gave him a deep respect for working people. It also gave him a strong desire to find another path. His grandfather gave him his first guitar when he was just a young boy. That instrument became more than wood and strings. It became hope. It became a way out. Willie started writing songs at a very early age. Even as a child, he understood sadness and longing. He sang in church and played in small local bands. Music was not just entertainment for him. It was survival. As he grew older, he tried many jobs. He worked as a radio announcer, a door-to-door salesman, and even joined the Air Force for a short time before being discharged due to back problems. But music kept calling him back. No matter how far he drifted from it, he always returned. Over time, he became known not just as a singer, but as a songwriter. Big stars recorded his songs before he became famous himself. Eventually, his unique voice and style made him stand out. He did not look like a polished Nashville star. He did not sound like everyone else. That difference became his strength, and that independent spirit, the same spirit that refused to follow industry rules, is the same spirit guiding his thoughts about his funeral today. Willie Nelson has always believed that life should be honest. So when it comes to death, he feels the same way. He does not want a big show. He does not want fake tears. He does not want people attending out of obligation or publicity. He wants something real. As the years passed, Willie Nelson slowly became more than just a songwriter behind the scenes. He became the face of something bigger. In the 1970s, when country music in Nashville had a very polished and controlled sound, Willie decided he did not want to follow those rules anymore. He was tired of being told how to dress, how to sing, and how his record should sound. He felt trapped inside a system that did not truly understand him. So he made a bold move. He left Nashville and returned to Texas. That decision changed everything in Texas, especially in Austin. There was a growing music scene that mixed country, rock, folk, and blues. It was relaxed, creative, and open-minded. Willie felt at home there. He stopped wearing the clean-cut suits and started dressing the way he felt comfortable. He grew his hair long. He wore bandanas. He looked less like a traditional country star and more like a free spirit. This was the birth of what later became known as the outlaw country movement. Alongside artists like Waylon Jennings, Willie helped create a new sound that rejected strict industry control. They wrote songs that felt raw and honest. They sang about real life, heartbreak, freedom, and sometimes even trouble. It was not always perfect, but it was real. In 1975, Willie released an album called Red-Headed Stranger. It was simple and stripped down. Some record executives thought it was too quiet and too different. They were unsure if it would succeed. But listeners loved it. One of the songs from that album, Blue Eyes Crying in the Rain, became his first #1 hit as a singer. After years of writing hits for other people, he finally stood at the top himself. Success followed. More albums, more tours, more awards. He later released Stardust, an album of old pop standards that many thought was a risky choice. But once again, Willie proved critics wrong. The album sold millions of copies and showed that he could cross genres without losing himself. However, fame also brought pressure. Touring constantly is hard on the body. The late nights, long bus rides, and endless performances can wear anyone down. For Willie, who was already known for his heavy smoking and wild lifestyle in earlier years, the toll became clear over time. He faced serious health issues, including collapsed lungs and breathing problems. There were moments when fans feared he might not recover. That resilience became part of his legend. At an age when most people have retired for decades, Willie continued performing. Even in his late 80s and early 90s, he was still on stage, still smiling, still singing on the road again. That determination earned him deep respect from fans and fellow musicians. But fame also creates complicated relationships. Over decades in the spotlight, a person meets thousands of people. Some friendships last. Others fade. Some relationships are warm and meaningful. Others are distant or even tense. Willie has always valued authenticity. He respects people who are honest, grounded, and true to themselves. He has little patience for ego or for people who treat music like a business first and an art second. For him, country music was never about bright lights or giant productions. It was about stories and soul. As he reflects on his life now, he sees clearly who truly walked beside him and who simply crossed his path. And when he imagines his funeral, he does not see it as a red carpet event filled with cameras and big names. He sees it as a quiet moment meant for the people who mattered most. As Willie Nelson moved deeper into his later years, one thing became impossible to ignore. Time eventually catches up with everyone. For decades, Willie seemed almost unstoppable. He toured constantly, recorded album after album, and rarely slowed down. But behind the music and the smiling stage presence, his body was fighting battles that fans could not always see. One of the earliest serious health scares came in the early 1980s. After years of heavy touring and smoking, Willie suffered a collapsed lung while on vacation in Hawaii. It was a frightening moment. He had to be rushed to the hospital, where doctors inserted a tube into his chest to help his lung heal. For a man whose life depended on breath and voice, it was a warning sign. His lungs had been under strain for many years. Willie later admitted that he had smoked since childhood. What began as curiosity eventually turned into decades of cigarettes and marijuana. He often joked about it, but the damage was real. Over time, he developed emphysema, a serious lung condition that makes breathing difficult. He also battled pneumonia more than once. There were tours he had to cancel, shows he had to cut short, nights when simply breathing became a struggle. In 2004, another challenge appeared. Willie was diagnosed with carpal tunnel syndrome, a painful condition that affects the hands and wrists. For most people, this would be difficult. For a guitarist who had played thousands of shows, it was devastating. During one performance in Las Vegas, the pain became so intense that he had to walk off stage. Eventually, surgery became necessary. The recovery was not easy, but Willie refused to let it define him. When he could not play guitar for a period of time, he still sang. His guitar, known affectionately as Trigger, has been by his side for decades. It is worn and marked from years of use, almost like a physical record of his journey. Being separated from it, even temporarily, was emotional. Then came the COVID-19 pandemic. At nearly 90 years old, contracting the virus was extremely dangerous, especially with his lung history. When he tested positive, his family and team acted quickly. Treatments began immediately. There were tense moments. People close to him worried deeply. But once again, he recovered. These health battles changed the way Willie thought about life. Not in a fearful way, but in a realistic one. He understood clearly that he was no longer a young man. He understood that every tour could be his last, every album could be his final one. Instead of avoiding that truth, he accepted it. Willie has never seemed obsessed with living forever. He has often said that death is simply part of life. In interviews, he speaks about it calmly, sometimes even with humor. For him, worrying about the end wastes the time he still has. As he reflected on his long journey, the poverty of his childhood, the rise to fame, the mistakes, the friendships, the arguments, the awards, he began thinking seriously about how he wants to be remembered. Not as a headline, not as a spectacle, but as a man who stayed true to himself. When you live 90+ years, your circle becomes smaller. Many of the people you started with are gone. Some friendships fade naturally. Others end quietly. And in a world where celebrity often turns even private moments into public events, Willie wants something different for his farewell. He does not want a circus. He does not want cameras flashing. He does not want people attending just to be seen. His health struggles reminded him that life is fragile and personal. And because of that, his wishes for his funeral are deeply personal too. For many people, a funeral is a sad and quiet event. It is a time for family and close friends to gather, remember stories, and say goodbye. But for someone as famous as Willie Nelson, a funeral could easily turn into something much bigger. It could become a public event. Cameras could show up. Celebrities could attend. News channels could cover every moment. Willie knows this. After more than 70 years in the spotlight, he understands how quickly private moments can become public spectacles. Willie has always believed that life should be simple and honest. Even when he became one of the biggest names in country music, he never acted like a typical superstar. He still saw himself as a small-town Texas boy who loved writing songs. He preferred sitting on a porch with a guitar over walking on a red carpet. Fame happened to him, but it never fully changed who he was inside. Because of that, when he talks about his funeral, he speaks about it in a calm and practical way. He does not want drama. He does not want attention. He wants peace. He wants the people in that room to be there because they truly knew him, not because they want to be part of history or grab a headline. Over the years, Willie has met countless celebrities. He has shared stages with legends. He has recorded duets with artists from different genres. He has appeared in movies and television shows. He has met politicians, actors, and business leaders. But meeting someone and truly connecting with them are two different things. For Willie, authenticity matters more than status. A person's fame does not impress him. What matters is whether they were real with him. Did they treat him like a human being? Did they share genuine moments? Did they stand by him when times were hard? As he has hinted in conversations, there are some well-known figures he would rather not have present at his funeral. Not because of anger or hatred, but because he feels that their presence would not match the spirit he wants for that day. He does not want big personalities dominating the atmosphere. He does not want old tensions or differences overshadowing the meaning of the moment. In his mind, a funeral is not a concert. It is not a show. It is not an opportunity for anyone to make speeches about themselves. It is a quiet closing chapter. One name that has often been mentioned in discussions around this topic is Garth Brooks. Willie has always respected his success, but their styles and views on country music have been very different. Willie comes from a raw, storytelling tradition. He values grit and simplicity. Garth represents a more polished, stadium-style country sound. That difference does not mean they are enemies, but it does mean they walk different paths. For Willie, a funeral should reflect his own path, not someone else's image of country music. Another figure sometimes linked to this discussion is Kid Rock. Known for his loud personality and outspoken nature, Kid Rock represents a bold and sometimes controversial presence. Willie, while also outspoken in his own way, prefers calm and reflection during serious moments. He does not want a farewell that feels noisy or dramatic. There have also been mentions of public figures like Jane Fonda and Ted Turner in conversations about people who may not fit into his vision of a quiet, personal goodbye. In these cases, the differences are more about lifestyle and personality than personal conflict. Willie has always been careful about mixing politics, celebrity culture, and deeply personal moments. What is important to understand is this: Willie's choices are not about revenge. they are about clarity. After living more than 9 decades, he knows exactly what kind of energy he wants around him. Even at the end, he has spent his life doing things his own way. It makes sense that he would want his final gathering to reflect that same independence. One thing that has always defined Willie Nelson is independence. From the moment he left Nashville to create his own sound in Texas, he proved that he would not allow the music industry to control him. That same independence continues today, even as he talks about something as serious as his funeral. For Willie, it is not about excluding people to cause drama. It is about protecting the meaning of the moment. When someone has lived as long and as publicly as Willie, their life becomes part of history. Millions of fans feel like they know him personally. Fellow musicians respect him as a pioneer. Younger artists see him as a role model. Because of that, his funeral could easily turn into a national event. Large crowds, long speeches, endless tributes, cameras broadcasting every second. He has often spoken about the importance of staying grounded. Even after earning Grammy Awards and being inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame, he never behaved like someone who thought he was above others. He still valued simple conversations, late-night jam sessions, and time spent with family. In interviews, he has said that life is short and that worrying too much about status or image wastes precious time. He does not want his funeral to become a place where famous faces show up simply because it is expected. In the world of celebrity, there is often pressure to attend major events, especially when they involve legends. But Willie does not want obligation. He wants sincerity. If someone did not truly share a meaningful bond with him, he sees no reason for them to be present. For example, discussions have sometimes included artists like Garth Brooks. While Garth has achieved enormous success and changed modern country music, his style represents a different era and approach. Willie's career was built on resisting commercial pressure. He preferred stripped-down storytelling over large productions. Their differences are more about philosophy than personal conflict. Still, Willie feels that his farewell should reflect his own values, not the polished world that came later. Similarly, outspoken figures such as Kid Rock carry strong personalities and public images. Willie respects individuality, but he believes a funeral should feel peaceful. It should not feel like a continuation of public debates or controversies. Even if there is no direct feud, he prefers to avoid any presence that might distract from the quiet purpose of the day. In cases involving public figures like Jane Fonda or media personalities like Ted Turner, the differences seem to be more about lifestyle and worldview. Willie has always walked a unique line. He has supported certain causes and spoken openly about social issues, yet he has also remained deeply rooted in small-town values. He does not want his funeral to feel political, corporate, or theatrical. He wants it to feel human. As he reflects on his life, Willie understands something many people only realize too late. You cannot control how people remember you, but you can guide the tone of your goodbye. For him, that tone should be calm and personal. It should feel like friends gathering around a guitar, not reporters gathering around microphones. His choices show that he is not trying to divide people. He is simply choosing authenticity over appearances. After more than 70 years of performing, writing, and surviving both success and hardship, he believes he has earned the right to decide how the final chapter should be written, and if history has shown anything, it is that Willie Nelson has never been afraid to follow his own path, even when that path surprises others.